This is Coffee Chat, Redefining the Empty Nest. Here are your hosts, Lisa McGrath and Renee Lowry.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee Chat, Redefining the Empty Nest. I'm Renee.
I'm Lisa.
Thank you for joining us here today. We are here with Sandy, who is going to share her empty nest story with us. Sandy, will you please tell us a little bit about your family and brag about your kids some?
Sure. So my name is Sandy Latour, and I actually had my daughter pretty young. I was a teen mom, and so it was just the two of us. I was a single parent, did that for the first 5 years until I met my husband. And he came into our lives. My daughter has been a wonderful, wonderful child. She grew up very, very academically gifted and went straight through to college, did the dean's list, not so much in the athletic department at all, but absolutely in the academics. And she ended up getting a very full-time job, which pays exceptionally well, right out of college. And she's living on her own and working for Amazon at this point. So it's been wonderful. Awesome. And just got engaged.
Oh, congratulations. Wow. Congratulations. Yes. So I, Sandy, you know, I told you I have boys. So I've always believed in experience, from my experience anyway, that a son is a son until he takes a wife, but a daughter's a daughter for all of her life. So I've really experienced that because my daughter-in-laws are the ones that do all the communicating now. But congratulations. I think that's terrific that you're going to welcome a new son.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. I love that you said your daughter was an exceptional kid. And a wonderful, I think you said called her a wonderful, wonderful child. And it's amazing to me how we look back at our children when they're younger and we see mostly the good, you know, because I'm sure you also remember those times when she was trying and you wanted to pull your hair out.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we all have those too.
The best quote I think I ever heard was that the days are long and the years are short.
Yeah, exactly.
You're in it, it's rough.
I hadn't ever heard that, but it is so true. Yes. It is.
Yeah.
And I'm going through that teenage phase with mine right now. My youngest one, especially, that lives at home still. It's so much girl drama. Did you have a lot of girl drama?
Oh, we always had girl drama. And, you know, you have hormones that go in with that. And just they want to be independent and away from you. And at the same time, they still need you. And it's that cross between, I hate you, but I need you here.
And it's finding that happy balance. Yep, I agree. It's crazy.
Yeah. Sandy, when you're talking about that, but how did you feel when she was leaving? What kind of drama came to your life or feelings welled up in you?
I mean, so she was young because she's an October baby. So she was still 17 when she went off to college. And, you know, we had talked about where she wanted to go. And thankfully, she wanted to be somewhat close, but not super close. So she chose a school that was about 2.5, 3 hours away for a drive time. So enough that you could get there if you needed to, but far enough away that you can't just drop in on her. So I think it was like a really good mix. And, you know, it is kind of scary. I think looking back at that, this is the only child that I had, and she was going off. And it's like, okay, I've just spent these 17 years devoting my entire life to raising her and doing what needs to be done and, you know, supporting her and doing all this. And all of a sudden she's leaving. So that first day driving her back, we dropped her off at college and there was a little bit of crying on the way out. And it wasn't horrible. It wasn't sobbing. It wasn't any of that. At the same time, I kind of felt like I did my job. Like this was what was supposed to happen. And I think that was probably more rewarding. It's like, okay, I've completed the journey. If there's not, you know, we're never done being a parent, but I've done what was supposed to be done. So I think that was there was a mix between the two feelings going on.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's very similar to my story too. I didn't experience as much of the pain. I mean, granted, my younger one's still home, so maybe I haven't gotten that part yet, but my children were always, my goal with them was always get them to the point where they are well-adjusted adults and can manage on their own. You know, that's been my goal since they were tiny little things before they could walk and talk. You know, that was my my ambition for them and for myself as a mom. And so it's when I dropped off my oldest one in college, it was that same kind of feeling. It was more, the tears were nostalgia more than pain for me, for that one. And it was more of a feeling of accomplishment. Like I made it. I got her to the place where I was hoping she would get to. You know, I'm sending her off knowing she's prepared to handle life as a college student. So it was a little bit of a reward in that sense for me too. So I feel what you're saying there is it's how I feel as well. So thinking about the next steps after this, how do you imagine that you'll redesign your life after she has her own family, after she's gone? When that was going on in the transition time for you, how did you redesign your life to accommodate her being there less? What did that look like?
The college years were, the semesters would go by really fast. And I think if you're a mom who's got children in college, you kind of relate to that. You drop them off and all of a sudden you're picking them back up for their winter break or their summer break again. And you're like, how did these months go by so fast? And I think you definitely adjust to, okay, we no longer have to be home by 9, 10 o'clock at night to make sure the children are in and doing the things they're supposed to do and keeping an eye on all these children and making sure that they are not getting into trouble. You know, now it's kind of opened up this world of, we get to go back to being ourselves and we get to go back and saying, okay, my life now becomes my life and I get to travel or stay out late or, you know, go out with friends until whatever time and not have to be worried about what a group of teenagers could be doing at our house. So it's kind of a nice transition in that to go back to saying, hey, this is the time where, you know, I'm still young enough to be able to have some fun and do these things. And it's really nice now that she lives on her own. If we do travel, I can have her come and pet sit the dog. So that's been really great. So that's been wonderful. It's not looking for a pet sitter. I mean, you've got all these different advantages that go on. So I don't think that the transition was all that hard because now I'm looking at it as, like you said, there's nostalgia there. Absolutely. But there's also this excitement of there's a new phase in life and there's a lot of years ahead to do a lot of things.
Yeah,
exactly. I know for me, one of the first things I did is I changed the bedroom. I changed the bedroom and it became my sewing room. I know it sounds cliche, but that's what I did. And that kind of helped me a little bit in my transition, knowing that, you know, I had my own space to do some more things and be creative. Being creative helped me redesign who I was going to be and what my life would look like. So that was wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think my story echoes yours a lot with my oldest one. And I think she was my one that was most like me. So I think the younger one's going to be a little harder for me to part with. I feel like I'm emotionally more responsible for the younger one. You know, it's like she's a puzzle I've been figuring out her whole life. And she was my wild child, so to speak. But so I don't know. There's a chance that I'll feel a little differently with that one. But my older one, I definitely recognize exactly what you're saying there with the months go by so fast before, oh my gosh, I just dropped you off in October and here it is May and I have to go pick you up again. And I did have the Christmas break as well, but she now has to bring home all of her stuff and move back into the house. And oh my goodness, for 2 months, it's like, seriously? I don't know where we're going to put her anymore because we did kind of grow into our space, the three of us, you know, because we live in New York City. It's a small apartment. So I'm not looking forward to that. This will be her first summer back. And then she'll leave in August and it's like, it's constant upheaval of my house. I'm working on those details, but it's a process. So I'm glad to know that there's an other side when college is over and that'll be a little smoother. Hopefully she'll be like your daughter and get a good career from all of this college effort that pays off and find a family.
It's definitely a different challenge at those times because now they've come back and they don't have that thought process of I'm leaving again in 2 months. Now they're back and they're like, wait a second, I've been living on my own for X amount of years, kind of, sort of, and I don't really want to have these same rules anymore. And now, you know, that's that challenge of, okay, well, if you don't want to have these same rules, then maybe we have to look into you finding a place and having those discussions too. And, you know, it's definitely a different type of challenge.
Yep.
I would imagine the conversations you have are a little bit different too. When she calls, I'm assuming she calls you for advice and things like that. Has the conversations changed?
You know, it's funny. She didn't want to talk to me ever when she was a teenager. And now she calls and talks to me about everything. And I'll sit there sometimes and like, why are we talking right now? Just, not that I don't want to, but it's like, is there a reason for this call, or are you just calling to talk? And I think that's where it's kind of shifted to, which is kind of nice, but kind of amusing at the same time, because they didn't want to talk to you at all when they're, in their late teens. And now all of a sudden they're calling you to let you know that they cooked something on the stove. So.
Renee was just saying the same thing the other day. So that's fabulous.
Yep. Yeah, this is good. So what one piece of advice, if you had to offer a piece of wisdom to people like me who are kind of approaching that empty nest phase, what one piece of wisdom would you share with them?
I think you kind of captured it, because you're going through the same thought process I have with it. But it's to know that you have accomplished what we are supposed to accomplish as parents. We are supposed to prepare our children to be functioning adults in the world. We are supposed to prepare them to go out and to work and to have their own lives. And our lives are not completely dependent on being a parent. And our identity is not completely dependent on being a mother. And I think it's really important, especially as your children get a little bit older, to start seeking what else you want to do in your life other than being a devoted mother. Because I think that's the challenge I see a lot of women go through who are completely 100% devoted to their children. And it's wonderful to see that for them. But then their children leave and they're saying, what do I have? What's left in my world? And who am I as a person? Whether it's 18 years or 20 or 25 years, depending when they started having children, when their youngest leaves, they may have forgotten who they are as a person. And you're still a person outside of being a mother. And, have those experiences and go out and figure out what you still like to do and who you want to be, because you've got time left. It's not just, it's not done. And you're not going to have to hold on to just that identity.
Exactly. I love that.
I think, yeah, me too. I think the thing that hit home the most to me was when you alluded to the fact that it's a exciting new discovery for you at this point in your life. When you get to that place, you have two choices, really. One, to wallow in the pain and despair of what was, or to adventure into the future excitedly, discovering what's next and relearning who you are as an adventure rather than as a side effect or an aftermath of a tragedy, right? So it's that choice. And I love that we're doing this show. I love that you shared that piece of wisdom with us, because it helps people understand that choice. And I hope it really helps people to look at this phase as an adventure, redesigning your life. What's it look like now? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Sandy. This was great. Thank you for being here with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yes. So thanks for coming and tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
If you'd like to be a guest on Coffee Chat, follow the link, be a speaker, and apply. Subscribe and like our videos. You can follow Redefining the Empty Nest on YouTube or join the Facebook group.